Wonderful to see so many anticipatory faces here this evening. Welcome. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Frances to order, it being session number 75. And as always, we'll begin with a territorial acknowledgement. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Town of Fort Frances acknowledges with respect that it is situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Métis people of Treaty 3. We give gratitude and honor to the ancestors, elders, and all Anishinaabe and Métis people for sharing their resources and knowledge with us. Councillors, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? And if so, state the general nature thereof. Seeing none, I'll move on to item number 4, which is the best part of this evening, presentations. And we'll be doing the Moffat Family Fund issuing of certificates and checks. Just bear with me for a moment while I shuffle papers. Welcome. One of the benefits of being the mayor is that on behalf of council, you occasionally get to recognize great organizations that contribute so much to the quality of life in our community. And not only do you get to thank them, but you get to give them money. This evening, we announced funding from the Moffat Fund, which will assist these organizations to continue with the important work that they do for our residents. And tonight, we recognize 12 amazing community organizations and provide them with grants on behalf of the Moffat Fund. And the selection process goes like this. These organizations applied for funding. The applications were selected and approved by the Moffat Fund Committee. The Moffat Fund Committee then recommended their choices to council. Council approved the choices and sent them to the Moffat Fund Family Grant Organizations in Winnipeg, where they were given final approval. So, on behalf of the Moffat Fund, the Town of Fort Frances, its council, administration, and staff, I would like to thank all of these organizations for the wonderful work that they do in our community. And it gives me great pleasure to be able to recognize the following organizations this evening and provide them with checks from the Moffat Fund. So what I'm going to do is I will read one certificate, because the certificates are all the same except for the name. And these certificates say, this certificate is proudly presented to, on behalf of the Moffat Family Fund and the Winnipeg Foundation, in recognition of the amazing work you do for your organization and community, given this June 23rd, 2025 in Fort Frances. Now what I'll do is I'll call you up, come up and get your certificate. Don't run off because we'll want to get a picture. I'm going to combine 4 of them in one because they're all applied for by the same organization. And so I'll call forward the Northwestern Health Unit to receive checks for nutrition on weekends, Healthy Living Food Box, Fort Frances Community Garden, and 8th Street Trails. Who's here from the Northwestern Health Unit? Oh, come. Anyone here with any of those groups, come on down. So we've combined all of the awards in one check.
Camera's coming.
Next up, we have Fort Francis Kids Sport. Fort Francis Community Living. Fort Francis Volunteer Bureau. The OPP Youth Foundation. Looks around, and we will, of course, save this for them. The Rainy River District Music Festival Association. Salvation Army. The 908 Rainy Lake Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron. Last but not least, Confederation College. And there you have it, this year's Moffat awardees. So on behalf of the town of Fort Francis, again, thank you so much for the wonderful work that you do in our community. Let's have a final round of applause for everyone. I'm about to. You're welcome to stay, but this would be a good time to sneak out if you don't want to sit through a long meeting. Okay, moving on. Under item number 5, delegations and deputations, we have none. Under correspondence, I requested that we put this on. Council's taken a position on strong mayor powers, and there's a movement afoot in Ontario by municipalities to band together and basically indicate to the provincial government that we think awarding strong mayor powers is an affront to local democracy. And so I'd like to put an oral motion on the floor that council direct administration to bring back a motion to the next meeting of council opposing strong mayor powers. And in your package, you'll see that there is a motion opposing, a sample motion opposing in your package. Can I get a mover and seconder for that oral motion, please? Councillor Brunetta and Councillor Mackey. Any discussion on the oral motion? All in favor? Carried, and no one was opposed. Okay, that brings us to reports. We have a fairly lengthy agenda tonight, and I have a fairly lengthy report. So I'm just going to quickly skim it and just point out a few things to council, and you can read the written report, and if you have any questions at any time, just shoot me an email. I did want to mention that, and this may be in Councillor Behan's report or Councillor Morrison's report, that the negotiations on behalf of the library with CUPE have concluded, and there's a tentative agreement. So that was some good news. I've been working continuously with our Member of Parliament, MP Pulowski, on the file for foreign workers in Fort Frances, which local businesses have indicated they desperately need. We continue work on that. Our Member of Parliament called me and asked if I would write a letter to him asking for assistance and making the case, the economic case for the value of foreign workers in Fort Frances, and I did that. We just had the manager of Confederation College here, but I had a meeting with the president of Con College. It was also related to foreign people in Canada, but not foreign workers. Community colleges, but in particular Confederation College, is seeing their enrollment decrease because they have a significant fraction of their enrollment as foreign students. And because of that, they're able to offer fewer programs. So I spoke with the president of the college, President Sallow. She too has been working with MP Pulowski, and I suggested that maybe the colleges and the municipalities should join forces and present a more united front on this. So she agreed to that, and I'm going to follow up on that. And then after that, I attended Con College graduation, and on behalf of council and administration, I congratulated the students. They asked me to say a few words. Also, I wrote a letter of congratulations to each student and gave each student a Fort Frances pin. One of the things I do want to mention, we just had the Air Cadets here. You saw how smartly they were turned out. Every year I attend the annual Air Cadets review, and I always encourage council, if you get a chance to go to it, it's well worth seeing. The Air Cadets provided amazing opportunity for our youth, and just seeing them march and do their march past is very, very stirring. I continue to meet with the Border Mayors Alliance. We've been getting guest speakers every weekend, strategic guest speakers talking about the economy, and we're working to present, continuing to work to present municipal points of view to the federal government. We had a Pride March recently, which went very well, was very well attended, and the Pride March ended up here at Fort Frances Civic Center, where we had a flag raising and then a barbecue. And again, it was very, very well received by the Pride community. Recently, I attended another OPP billing seminar. There were many people online. It was always interesting to attend those things. I jumped into the queue to speak right away, because what tends to happen is people tend to repeat themselves. So I made our points, but then listened carefully. And it was interesting to hear the issues across the province that are different from us, that other municipalities have with OPP billing. And the CAO and I have a meeting tomorrow with the Solicitor General's office on OPP billing. Again, I suspect at a future meeting, Councilors Morrison and Bean will talk about the library board meeting, but I do want to mention that the Fort Francis Public Library Board has now hired a permanent CEO, so things are really turning around there. They hired Nadine, the interim CEO, and she is now the permanent CEO. And I think I will just leave it at that. I believe Councillor Firth had a brief report.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly, sorry, through the mayor. I wanted to thank a lot of the people in our community as well as the district this time of year. There's a lot of events that showcase the many things that we're great at, and a lot goes into those. So for those that make big things happen, like our powwows, like the Bass Championship, like the Kiwanis Fishing Derby this weekend, you've really done yourselves proud, and I just want to thank you for those gifts that you give to our community. It makes it a better place to live.
Here, here, and well said, Councillor Firth. Thank you for that. And I think that's the only other report we had this evening. So we will move on to number 8, the consent agenda. And we have 4 items on the consent agenda. Item 8.2, regular council meeting minutes. The recommendation reads, the council approved the regular council meeting minutes of June 9th, 2025 as presented. 8.3 are boards and committees meeting minutes, and the recommendation reads that the following boards and committee meeting minutes be received as information. The Committee of Adjustment minutes of March 19th, 2025, the Indigenous Relations Advisory Committee minutes of April 30th, 2025, the Museum and Culture Advisory Committee minutes of April 15th, 2025, the BIA minutes of April 9th, 2025, and the BIA minutes of May 14th, 2025. 8.4 deals with museum minutes of May 20th, 2025, and the recommendation reads that the Museum and Culture Advisory Committee minutes of May 20th, 2025 be received as information, and that Council directs administration to bring back a report on the youth membership term length for the Museum and Culture Advisory Committee in response to the committee's request. And then finally on the consent agenda, item 8.5, this is a deeming bylaw application. The recommendation reads that council approval of report AR-25-0835 agrees with the recommendation of administration to approve the application to deem the properties municipally known as 1024 Victoria Avenue and 1032 Victoria Avenue as one lot of record known as 1032 Victoria Avenue through bylaw, and that the same deeming bylaw be approved later in this council meeting. So I have a recommendation that reads, the council approve the, oops, sorry, I need to ask if you'd like to pull any of those. Council, would you like to pull any of those? Okay, seeing none. Now I have a recommendation that reads, the council approve the consent agenda as follows. Agenda items 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, and 8.5. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Burnetta, Councillor Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor, councillors? It's carried. No one was opposed. Okay, moving on to item number 5, or pardon me, item number 9, which is Administration and Finance Division reports. 9.1 deals with the expansion of wedding options. Our clerk has put this together. That council approved the following services to be added to the civil marriage offerings in the user fees bylaw. 1, elopement day package. 2, office marriage. 3, ceremony at approved off-site location during office hours. 4, basket of local goods. And 5, council chambers rental. Mover and seconder on that one, please. Councillor Behan, Councillor McTaggart. Any discussion or questions, councillors? Councillor Burnetta.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question. I think it's great that we're expanding our services. I know there's a lot of people who don't want a huge formal um, ceremony. I'm just wondering how many, I know that you've brought in more revenue this past year. Can you just give us an idea of how many services you might do in a year?
Through the chair, last year we had done, I would estimate at approximately 30 weddings. As we started making things more efficient, we noticed phone calls and requests started to pick up. We've had quite a few requests already this year, so it's hard to estimate, but it seems to be increasing.
Other questions or comments? I just want to commend the clerks. I'm here on wedding days and I see them trying to make the weddings as meaningful as possible for people. And the uptick in weddings is phenomenal, and also the increase in revenue. Very, very impressive. If there's no further questions, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried and no one is opposed. Item 9.2 came back from last meeting when council asked for a report. I'll put a recommendation on the floor. The recommendation reads that council approve report AR-25-0844 and provide a donation through the council public relations expense line in the amount of $2,277 to the Salvation Army for the use of the East End Hall for December 1 to 19, 2025 for their Christmas hamper campaign. Can I get a mover and seconder for that one, please? Councillor Firth, Councillor Behan. Any discussion on this? Councillor Behan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm just curious. I believe if I read the report correctly that they had been charged a half-day rate. It was going to be charged then a full-day rate, I believe, starting this year. I'm just wondering why that change was initiated to go from a half-day to a full day, and how much do they actually use the East End Hall each day? Thank you.
Is there someone from administration that can answer that? Our museum and rec manager isn't here this evening.
Through the chair, I don't have that data. I don't know if anybody would have that. No, we don't.
Yeah. I'll just make a comment, though. The Salvation Army was just here, and we gave them some Moffat Fund money. I have been working with them on a number of different scenarios. I'm on the Homelessness Committee, and the Salvation Army is on that committee. I'm on the Human Trafficking Committee, and the Salvation Army is there. And so through these committees and through working with Ryan, who is here, Salvation Army is doing an amazing job in our community. They're not just helping the homeless people, they're feeding more and more people on a regular basis. They're also helping find accommodations. They're also helping people find jobs. What they're requesting here is to be granted some relief for the rental of the East End Hall. The reason for that is they cannot use donated food in their Christmas hamper program. They have to purchase food for the Christmas hamper program, which is growing every year. And so money that they have to spend with us to rent the hall, I think could be better spent on buying food for people in Fort Francis that needs it. So I just thought I would give that background. Councillor McTaggart, did you have a question? Councillor Mackey?
Thank you, Your Worship. In regarding our public relations account of 14, I see we are already at half, used up half, and then we're talking about another third of the remaining. And so I'm wondering where we sit from today going to the end of the year with requests that we normally get in the second half of the year that we normally support. What might that total be in relation to what's remaining, and what will be remaining should we agree to the 2394 for?
Madam Treasurer?
Of course, I can't find it at the moment. We try different.
Councillor Bernetta?
Thank you. I'll ask a question in the meantime. If I'm reading this correctly, they actually need the hall for the full 20 days, full days for 20 days. But our options as council is to reimburse them or to provide them donation to cover either half the day or the full day. So when I first read it, I was thinking, well, do they need a half a day or a full day? But I would be in favor of supporting, the full day reimbursement, primarily because they do support so many families in our community that are struggling. So further to Councillor Mackey's, comments, I know there are other requests that come in throughout the year, but we also have to deal with issues as they arise. So I would be in support of the full day reimbursement.
Thank you, Councillor Bernetta. Any other questions while we're waiting? Councillor Bien?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I hear what Councillor Burnett is saying. My concern would be that that'd be almost 25% of our full budget then would go to one organization. I think that's too much. If I charge them the half day and give them the subsidy to cover that fee, we're also getting the subsidy by, they're using it full day, but we're only giving them half day rate. So there's that subsidy built in as well. So I'd be reluctant to give them the full $3,298 waiving of that fee, because I think that's a quarter of our budget and that's too much for one organization. Thank you.
Just to follow up, are you suggesting option number 2 then, or are you just speaking against?
Yeah, I'd be okay with option 2.
Okay, thank you for that. How are we doing, Madam Treasurer? No pressure.
Through the chair, in past years, well, just at 2024, there wasn't a lot after this point in the year. Maybe around $1,000. Some of it being advertising for Christmas, good cheer and stuff like that. I don't think it's out of the realm to provide a good lump sum to them, but that's up to council, of course.
Okay, thank you for that. Going back to you, Councillor Mackey, did you get your question answered? Okay, any further questions or comments? So I will call the question, are we in favor of helping out the Salvation Army? And then you have to decide which option you'd like. How many are in favor of helping out the Salvation Army? Okay, we have a majority on that. Councillor Bien, and I don't know about Councillor Bernetta, was suggesting option 2, I think. Yes, absolutely.
So I think Councillor Bien and I are interpreting this differently. So I understood that if we went with option 2, which was for a half day, that they would be on the hook then for the other half of the day, or the balance of the full day versus half day. So, but Councillor Bien feels that it's, that we'll reimburse them for a half day, but we'll only charge them for a half day. So that part I don't understand.
So I think the intent was that last year they got the full day at the half day rate. So I think what they are trying to say in their letter is that they'd like to get the full day, but at the half day rate, which is option number 2. But it is a little convoluted. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, how many would be okay with option 2? 2, 3. Okay, so that carries. Is anyone opposed to option number 2? Okay, so no one was opposed. The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to Community Service Division reports, and there are none. Item number 11 is Planning and Development Division reports, and there's one. I'll put a resolution on the floor. That council approval of report AR-25-0833 agree with the recommendation of administration to declare the parcel proposed as Lot 1 of Shevlin Woodyard, legally described as McCurvin Lot 22-24, River Range, Plan SM43, BLK, A and B, and SMI 121, Lot 15, RP, 48, R3, 445, PTS, 1 to 3, and PCL 15-2 as surplus to the town's needs. It's quite a mouthful. And that notice of the declaration of surplus be provided on the town website and through the town's social media pages. And further, the council direct administration to proceed with the drafting and options agreement for Lot 1 of the Shevlin Woodyard proposed development, legally described as McCurvin Lot 22-24, River Range, planned SM 43, BLK, A and B, and SMI 129, Lot 15, RP, 48, R3, 445, PTS, 1 to 3, PCL 15-2, and to bring a subsequent authorizing bylaw forward for council consideration. Don't say that. You just want me to read it again. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Firth and Councillor Morrison. Councillors, questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried, and no one was opposed. Okay, we go to item number 12, which is Operations and Facilities Division Report. And I'll put a resolution on the floor. The recommendation reads that council approval of report AR-25-0852 will agree with the recommendation of administration that the 2025 revision of the Drinking Water Quality Management System operational plan be endorsed by mayor, council, and top management, thereby committing to maintaining a leading-edge drinking water system, providing residents of the town of Fort Frances with the highest quality, safe drinking water. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Behan, Councillor Mackey. Discussion, councillors? Calling the question, all in favor? That was carried and no one is opposed. Okay, that brings us to item number 13, which is bylaws. And the recommendation that I'll put on the floor reads that the following bylaws be introduced and read, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. 42-25, to authorize levying and collection of a special charge of taxes upon the BIA. 43-25, to adopt a CAO performance policy. And 44-25, to adopt a sponsorship and naming rights policy. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Morrison, Councillor Bernetta. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. One was opposed. Okay, that brings us to item number 14, which is notice of motion or motion to reconsider. And from Councillor Firth, we have a resolution. The notice of motion was duly given at the last meeting. That council direct administration to bring a report which outlines options and associated costs for the potential development of a dog park. And that the report include consideration of establishing a special or ad hoc committee to support the planning and implementation of this project. Councillor Firth, I assume you're moving that?
I'm going to withdraw that motion.
Oh, okay. Councillor Firth withdraws the motion. Rumor has it you have a new notice of motion.
Yes, that's correct. Through the mayor, the notice of motion would be that council direct administration to bring forward recommendations for a process to develop a community off-leash dog park, and that a special committee, similar to Make a Big Splash Park committee, be established for the duration of the project with authority to make recommendations to council.
Okay, thank you for that. That'll come forward at the next meeting of council. There's no discussion or no moving and seconded required right now. Okay, then that brings us to item number 15, which is the closed session. And I'll put a recommendation on the floor that council now meet in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to 1, Point Park litigation. This falls under 239-2E litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or board. And 239-2F, advice that is subject to the solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor Firth and Councillor Bernetta. And that occurred at 6:06. Any discussion, councillors? All in favor? It's carried. No one is opposed. Okay, for those of you who are following online, we'll go into closed session now, and at the conclusion of closed session, we'll return and report. Okay, council is back in open session. Coming out of closed session, we have two resolutions. I'll put the first resolution on the floor. The recommendation reads that council respectfully acknowledge and accept the decision of the Ontario Superior Court of Justice regarding Point Park and choose not to pursue an appeal. And that council direct administration to move forward with key messaging as outlined in the drafted media release. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Firth, Councillor Bernetta. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Another recommendation that came out of closed session is that council approve the closed meeting minutes of May 26, 2025 as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Morrison, Councillor Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, now we have our confirmatory bylaw. The recommendation reads that bylaw 45-25 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the town of Fort Francis be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Mackey, Councillor Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. No one was opposed. Finally, that having reached the hour of 7:44, this meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Francis be now closed. Councillor McTaggart and Councillor Mackey move in second. 7:50. All in favor? That's carried. No one was opposed. Thank you, Council.